Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another review. This time we're going to take a look at Expeditions Viking, a tactical RPG set in the late 8th century during the Age of Vikings. Developed and published by Logic Artists, it was released on April 27th, 2017, and is available on Steam and GOG.com. This one's an interesting one because there's a few different ways to approach the game and the gameplay, and in the time that I played it, I was really only able to try one of what might be several ways to go through things. Still, I'll go ahead and cover the basics throughout since they should be the same regardless of the approach. The premise of the game is simple enough. It's the late 8th century and your father, Thane of Skjern, has disappeared on an expedition across the sea. You are left to try to bring together your clan, shore up your position in a land where others scheme against you, and be sure your people prosper. You must develop your village, recruit loyal housecarls, make political connections, build wealth, settle disputes, and in the end you're going to need to journey across the sea as your father did, to the British Isles. The game starts with the creation of your main character, which can be male or female, and offers a fair amount of customization. You then assign skill points to a variety of skills in different categories. There's basic weapon skills, offensive skills, support skills, utility skills, and passive skills. A fair number of these skills have only one level, although certain skills have multiple levels and may unlock certain combat abilities as you reach certain tiers. For instance, increasing your sword skill not only increases your accuracy and damage with weapons of that type, but can unlock special attacks, such as Strong Swing, which can have their own particular effects in combat. Other skills are used in non-combat interactions or during camping, both of which make up prominent portions of the game. Once you've made your character, you start in the introductory campaign, which begins with a feast in your father's honor. During this, you meet your neighbors, get a sense for their positions, learn the basics of interactions as well as combat. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into the storyline specifics beyond that, but I will say that it's quite a decent introduction to the game in general, as it covers most, although not all, of the core concepts of the game. We'll start with the basic interactions and map explorations. On the local map, you're shown a top-down view of your party wandering around a particular location that you're in. Most maps, besides the one at Skjern, are concealed under a fog of war, which peels back as you wander around. On the map, you may encounter various lootable containers, pickable herbs, or viewable items of interest. A hotkey can further reveal their outlines on the map, and a lot of times I found them myself just holding said hotkey down constantly. If the cursor over a container is red, that means that the container belongs to somebody, and it will actually require a skill check on one of your abilities to obtain it without alerting its owner. During exploration, you may encounter scripted events that immediately trigger combat or conversations, as well as certain NPCs that you can speak with. If you can interact with an NPC, they'll have a golden nameplate above their head. Talking to them starts up a multiple-choice series of dialogues that can include both ability score tests, such as finesse or perception, as well as skill requirements, such as options that require a certain number of ranks in leadership or diplomacy. Icons by each line will tell you whether the line continues a conversation, starts a combat, opens some sort of trade or other interface window, or simply exits the conversation, although you are given no warning whether a particular line will influence your followers' morale. And yes, depending on the decisions you make in such non-combat interactions, you can drastically change your followers' morale and opinion of you. Each member of your group tracks morale separately based on their personalities, and it can impact their overall effectiveness. Combat encounters make up a fair amount of gameplay, and can happen as a result of encountering enemies during exploration, as a result of conversations, or as an event on the map. Combat is turn-based and occurs on a hex map, with each side taking a turn. During a player's turn, any character may be selected, and can make an attack action and a move action. When a character is selected, their movement range is highlighted. The area highlighted in green indicates where a character can move and still take an attack action, while the area highlighted in yellow means the character can no longer take an attack action if they move there. If the character has already taken an attack action, then everywhere is highlighted in yellow. They can split their movement as well, moving and taking an action, then moving again so long as they have the movement points to do so. In fact, Since the characters on a particular side can all move and attack in any order, it can be useful to switch characters while performing such actions. For instance, moving one character up to engage an enemy, moving another character into the enemy's opposite side to provide a flanking bonus, and then switching back to the original character to attack, possibly inflicting some other effect, and then back to the second character to make their attack. In this way, you can really capitalize on different abilities the characters in your groups can unleash. It should be noted that some actions are actually full round actions that preclude movement as well as an attack. There's also a cover system, which can be used in addition to the various flanking and attack-related debuffs to make every combat feel just a little unique. Overall, the combat system is very satisfying and pretty fun to engage in, although I do have some complaints. Most of it, at least on my end, has to do with the character placement and turn order. Placement at the beginning of the combat is problematic. When combat starts as a result of exploration, the starting positions are set based on where their characters were at the time of the encounter, which generally means that your main character is way out front of the rest of your group. But if the character happens as part of a script or a conversation, placement can be even more random, thus exposing vulnerable characters to enemy attack. Furthermore, since an entire side takes its turn at once, this can mean that an entire enemy group gets to take free attacks on some of those vulnerable characters if they start positioned poorly. It wasn't that unusual to have my main character or my healer end up taking heavy fire or being taken out entirely in the first round before I could even act. Fortunately, characters that go down in combat aren't dead, although the longer that they stay down, the more chance they have of gaining injuries. Injuries can also be suffered during exploration and reduce a character's overall effectiveness. They can be addressed in the camp menu, which I'll get to in a little bit. But first, it's useful to address the campaign map in general. The campaign map is a regional map of the area to be explored in that particular campaign section, and it's done in a tapestry art style. It includes the main areas which can be explored, as well as various camps and areas of interest. Here, the party travels from area to area, and time ticks down as you move along. During this overland travel, random events can occur, which are handled in a dialogue box similar to the conversation, complete with ability and skill-based challenges. Between areas, the party can enter a camp, which may result in a combat or other encounter if that camp happens to be occupied. Each camp is rated based on its security, shelter, and availability of food, which can impact how restful setting camp there would be, how much food the group can hunt in the area, and how susceptible they may be to random attack. Travel over the campaign map takes time, and it's important to stop and rest during long journeys. Setting camp allows you to order various characters to perform tasks on each shift. There are 4 shifts during each camp, and each character can perform actions on 2 of those shifts without worrying too much about fatigue. Actions include hunting for food, preserving meat into long-lasting rations, scouting for interesting things in the area, healing wounds, crafting or repairing various items, weapons, armor, etc., standing guard, and so on and so forth. Most of these actions are based on associated support skills, although some, like guarding, anyone can do. Most camps are fairly simple affairs, but if you want to maximize your resource gathering, optional encounters, and recovery times, proper management of the camping mechanic becomes more important than anything else. Resources that you uncover during trading, exploration, and camps can be used for a number of things as well. Certain quests require some resources, but they are also useful for the aforementioned crafting system, allowing for the creation of weapons, armor, and other adventuring gear. They are also used for upgrading your town, building new structures within it to increase your power or prosperity. As a reward for certain quests or discovering certain things during exploration, you are also granted skill points. All of your band advance in skill points whenever you earn any of them, so you don't have to worry about some characters getting too far ahead of others. These skill points are how you level up, effectively allowing you to fine-tune each character to their particular role. You can actually have quite a large band, generally a few times more than you can actually have in your party during individual combats or during exploration of certain areas. Due to the injury system, it can be helpful to build redundancies into your character roster, so if somebody is too wounded to really contribute, another can step up while their injuries are being treated and take their place. There are 2 main ways to get characters into your band. First is to recruit certain named NPCs. The bulk of your group will likely be acquired in this way, and their availability and continued happiness will depend in large part on selections made during adventuring. The other method is to hire mercenaries, which gives a completely customizable character which you can specialize in any way that you wish. This latter method is only available in a few places, and while these characters can be created to fill whatever role you need, they lack the sort of serious banter that you can expect from proper followers that you pick up on your route. So between exploration, combat, crafting systems, upgrading your homestead, etc., this game offers a lot of things to do, and there are even more things as you continue your band's adventures that I didn't really get to include in this. The depth of play alone would be worthwhile, but it is paired with a fairly solid story as well, and one in which your choices are actually meaningful. Deciding how to handle certain quests one way or the other may unlock more later on, or shift what options you have available in later quests. Further, quests can be approached in a variety of different ways, depending on your abilities, skills, and general desires. You can play a diplomatic sort that talks their way around most situations, a trader interested in enriching yourself, or a violent raider, specializing in combat skills, but leaving things like diplomacy and leadership lacking may result in more combats. Or you can play the rogue sort with a high finesse that may let you end some confrontations with a quick, well-placed knife stab before the conversation is even finished. Different characters, both within your party and without, will react a little bit differently depending on your course of action. This can make different playthroughs feel extremely distinct from one another. Now, I have to admit that not everything is wonderful. Expeditions Viking released with a ton of bugs, although logic artists have worked very hard to address these. As of this recording, there's still several issues outstanding, but the issue is that even in the time after I recorded this and before I'll put it up, there are more patches coming out, so some of these issues may be corrected by then. Combined with the combat issues, this can make the game a little bit frustrating for some people, although I admit that I found everything quite bearable and none of the bugs really blocked the game's progress for me. Graphically, the game is excellent, although the camera may feel somewhat limited at times, especially while exploring large areas. The exploration areas can also be a little bit busy, basically demanding use of the highlight hotkey to be sure that you've got everything that you can. The music and sound design are actually very lovely and lend a feel of really being in the area and the time period, although I personally can't say how historically accurate certain things are. The use of real-world place names, customs, and practices, lore, and history gives a really grounded feel to the game. I have to say that I honestly really enjoyed this game, and I look forward to replaying it at least a few times to make different choices throughout. I might do a full Let's Play of this. It probably won't appeal to people who really enjoy high fantasy, but for people with an appreciation for historical role-playing and tactical combat, I feel like the pros vastly outweigh the cons of this game, and with the developer making real progress in stomping bugs, I can easily recommend it. I'll put links in the description below as always. For now, this has been the RPG Crawler with Expeditions Viking. If you like what you've seen, please leave a like, comment if you've got feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content. If you are feeling generous, please consider helping to support this channel through my Patreon at patreon.com/rpgcrawler, or through the links below. Until next time, take care and goodbye.